are talking here in this beautiful venue. Thank you for joining us here. I'll talk in a while why we are here, the place from where the story and the journey really began. And secondly, we just recalled that probably this is the, not probably, definitely this is the first time that all four of us have come together in in an interview or a public, performance. And I'm really truly delighted that this happens this way. And the pleasure is completely ours. Thank you. Yeah. So I would call from what
Namaskar and Pranam. It is a delight to be here with you, Dr. Binod Chaudhary, and the Chaudhary clan at the Alsisar Mahal in Shekhawati, Rajasthan, for, I think, the first big interview of the entire Chaudhary clan together in about 150 years. Am I right? All right, so that's a big one, a first one and a happy one. From here began a journey 140 years ago, a happy and happening journey, a journey of progression, a journey which has created wealth, not just for the CG group, but for all its dependents, be they business associates and partners, employees or the family itself. While we talk about wealth, we must bring into focus the philanthropic side of Dr. Binod Chaudhary, the CG family. I shall let Dr. Chaudhary talk about that in his own words. Namaskar and Pranam. It is a delight to be here with you, Dr. Binod Chaudhary, and the Chaudhary clan at the Alsisar Mahal in Shekhawati, Rajasthan, for, I think, the first big interview of the entire Chaudhary clan together in about 150 years. Am I right? All right, so that's a big one, a first one and a happy one. From here began a journey 140 years ago, a happy and happening journey, a journey of progression, a journey which has created wealth, not just for the CG group, but for all its dependents, be they business associates and partners, employees or the family itself. While we talk about wealth, we must bring into focus the philanthropic side of Dr. Binod Chaudhary, the CG family. I shall let Dr. Chaudhary talk about that in his own words a little later in this show. Today we have undiluted time with you, Dr. Binod Chaudhary, and the generation next at CG, Nirwan, Rahul and Varun, over an insightful interaction about the CG group, its origins and the group's diverse portfolio. May I say the CG empire it is, its origins and the group's diverse portfolio. Let us hear it from Binodji and the three hands-on brothers themselves who are driving their respective portfolios aggressively and hard while having fun doing what they've been mandated to do. Binodji, I shall start with you. I shall have the honor of pushing some questions with you for a good session. Today, as we sit here in Jhunjhunu, there are varied accounts and versions of the origin of the Chaudhary group in India and later on in Nepal. It would be nice to have you set the delightful record yourself and give a slight chronological order on who started the business, how and when. Did you all start in India? Or is it right that your grandfather made a trading start in Nepal to what is now a hugely diversified global business empire across multiple domains?
Thank you, Vineshi. It's really always a delight to talk to you, and today I must say that it happens to be a very special moment for two reasons. A, we are talking here in this beautiful venue. Thank you for joining us here. I'll talk in a while why we are here, the place from where the story and the journey really began. And secondly, we just recalled that probably this is the, not probably, definitely this is the first time that all four of us have come together in an interview or a public performance. And I'm really truly delighted that this happens this way, and at your invitation.
The pleasure is completely ours.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So I recall from what I was told by my late father, that my grandfather came to Nepal as a very young man, probably a teenager, at the age of about 14, 15, from a village nearby Jhunjhunu in the Jhunjhunu district called Chudi Ajithgarh. Chudi Ajithgarh is a twin village, you can call it a city today, beautiful one, and in the midst of, in the middle of Shekhawati region. And we all know that Shekhawati is well known for many of similar villages, towns around the Shekhawati region, from Sikar to Jhunjhunu to Bikaner, included in the region. I don't want to draw any kind of a political boundaries here, but the fact remains that probably the best known Marwadi business families who have traveled all over the world come from here. I don't know, I mean, what is it? It is the mati, it is the soil of this particular region, it's the water, it's the air, but there is definitely something. Why? Sometimes I wonder myself. Consistent with this, my grandfather traveled to Nepal as a young man, worked his way through. I was told that he worked for somebody else for some time, and then he started getting fabrics from India. In those days there were no roads. Textiles were brought in to Nepal to cater to the Rana regime, Rana families, because they were the ones who would afford it. There is also a story that goes that there were 6 families who were invited by the then Ranas, from the Marwadi clan, to come and start trading with India, to bring essential stuff from India, so that could be supplied primarily to the ruling families, but also to the people at large. And there is also a story goes that out of the 6, our family was also one. So that means that my grandfather was also part of that invitation, part of that team. Be it as it may, the journey began. It was tough. It was not easy. We had to travel for months to go to Gujarat and to Maharashtra, Mumbai, sleep in the gaddis of Kalwa Devi, bring in textile, and from the border, up to the border there used to be trains, and then carry it on human load. They used to carry the clothes, the bundles. And slowly my father took charge. My father was born when my grandfather was already about 50, I'm told. My father, who was born in Nepal, passed away 3 years ago at the age of 93. He was a very simple, modest individual, but very sharp, had great business ethics, value system. He's remembered by the business community, his peer group till date, for the kind of a legacy that he left behind. And that's what I believe is the biggest asset that we have inherited. I mean, when I had to enter business at the age of 18, while I was preparing to go to Mumbai to become a chartered accountant, actually.
How are you?
Yes. I was a very good student, and I wanted to, 2 reasons I wanted to go to Mumbai. Of course, those days, the normal thinking was that if you are good in numbers, if you are a good accountant, if you are a good numbers man, you will do well in business.
True.
Okay, contrary to what it is today, And secondly, right from my early childhood, I used to be very fond of Hindi cinema, Bollywood, bunk classes, go to watch movies, like anybody else in that age. So I thought that was one good opportunity for me to be in the midst of them. There were no aspirations to work in the films, by the way. But overnight my life changed. My father had a heart attack, and he was admitted in the hospital, and I vividly remember my conversation with him and the conversation with my doctor, who is no more like a family to us. That those days, somebody with the heart element, we lose them in about 10 years' time.
True.
That was a different...
very elementary.
Very, yeah. This I'm talking about close to 48 years ago. So he said that you better buckle up, and you are the eldest in the family, and forget about going to Mumbai or whatever, and shoulder the responsibilities that the destiny has thrust upon you. And my dad said the same thing, that look, you now decide, I won't be able to. It was a very emotional time. Overnight my life changed, and there I started. I continued to enter the real business world that he had created. It was decent. We'd already shifted importing from India to Japan and Korea, because Nepal had already become a little Hong Kong or Singapore for the Indians.
I remember the new road.
India, it was still the ambassador car Raj.
I remember.
A total socialistic country, with its own ethos in terms of business.
And New Road was our own haven.
Yes, and Nepal was probably the nearest Hong Kong and Singapore, and a foreign country in every way. A country with hotels like the Oberoi that time,
Yep.
we were Oberoi.
And the casinos.
A country with the casinos, a country where you could ride an imported car as taxis. Well, taxis on the road used to be Datsuns and Toyotas. Okay, and also Pashupatinath, frankly speaking. And so that Nepal used to be, those who could not or would not come to Kathmandu would even come to the borders. The borders were highly thriving, like the borders called Dhulawari on the eastern side close to Siliguri, and on the western side close to Gorakhpur and Nepalganj, close to Lucknow, etc. So that was Nepal, and my dad had the vision, and he quickly shifted doing business to Japan, with Japan, bringing in textiles from Japan, and same times he always felt that we got to, trading is not going to take us too far. We got to do something bigger. And we have to get into manufacturing. So he had just started the initial process of producing biscuits. Nepal used to be like anywhere else in India, flooded with Britannias and Parleys and Sates. I don't know if you recall, that used to be another brand, which I don't see anymore. And then he had invited a consultant from Hyderabad, who passed away recently, Mr. Shiv Chandler. And he had started the initial phase of setting out this plant with some partners. And that was the phase when I entered the business at the age of 18. Found myself in a situation where my father was not able to, do much in terms of hand-holding. I had to fight my own battle. Did not have a organization per se, one or two relatives who did not behave too well. I've written about that in my autobiography. But the journey was tough, the challenges were tough, but I must say that the God gave me the courage and confidence to get going as the journey became tougher. And there you are.
Beautiful. That's excellent. So somewhere we're also going to talk about your foray into hospitality, but that a bit later in the interview, in the session. Coming to my second question, when we look back at what we've achieved, what we've created, we are a sum total of various influences, be it from our parents, our grandparents, our family, friends, national or international leaders, thinkers, or people we've met during our travel or social interactions. I'd like you to briefly tell us about this part of your personality and what and who has influenced you to be what Dr. Binod Chaudhary is today.
I've always felt, and I've said this many times, that whatever I am today, or whatever we are today, as a family with 5 generations now, counting my grandchildren, born and raised in Nepal, I would like to emphasize that we are a staunch Nepali family with great sense of pride
Nepali family.
For what Nepal
True.
What Nepal has given us in terms of recognition and respect anywhere in the world. Is my network, my friends. I'm blessed by good people in my life, all across, in family, close friends, even business associates, or friends that I've built over the years and carry them with me. Of course, there are some personalities that you aspire or you are inspired by. I mean, it's difficult to put one name, but I can talk about a few names that instantly come to my mind. I mean, when it comes to business, J.R.D. Tata is one person who I've always tried to emulate in terms of the way the Tata empire exists. And by the way, they are our partners, so I have the opportunity of also knowing the Tata code of conduct, code of ethics from a very close quarter. I think arguably, they've created a fabulous, the most distinguished, the most respectable business house and a business name that is recognized all over the world.
And if I may say, ethical.
And ethical. I always dreamt that we have to build a company, an enterprise, a corporate with similar value system. So that's where I think to a large extent we take pride that despite many limitations coming of the third world and the South Asian smaller countries, we've been able to follow that footstep, and we've been able to create an enterprise which we are proud of. I'm equally and deeply touched by Mohammed Yunus for what he has done. And incidentally, we have also have the opportunity and honor of working with him as partners. You know, one man's vision, which transformed Bangladesh.
True.
From absolute poverty. I mean, I've had many opportunities of spending some intimate time with him, even before we started the Nepal social business, which is the impact business platform, the second, they call it the hybrid microfinance platform for Nepal. Such an unassuming man, such a simple man, but such clear thought process. Nobel laureate, of course.
Yes, of course.
Likewise, I also look at Bill Gates as another one individual, whose name comes to my mind more of late because we happen to be working together on the philanthropy side. I've met him a couple of times. Nirwan knows the family, including Miss Melinda Gates, much better and works much more closely. Who I'm sure will talk about it. But I mean, for what the kind of change that family has brought to this world in terms of addressing some of the global issues pertaining to health, nutrition, livelihood, and eradicating the same. A distinction not even major multinational organizations, NGOs, INGOs, or multinational institutions like the UN or WHO can boast of. As they say, I think what they have achieved as philanthropists is probably bigger than what Microsoft has achieved.
Absolutely.
As a corporate.
He's put his wealth to good use.
Yes. And not only that, people like Warren Buffett, his trust, look at the trust factor that he's pledged his entire wealth to support the initiatives taken by them. And that's purely, we fully understand. I mean, post 2015, when the massive earthquake struck Nepal, a tragedy, a crisis, much bigger than the scale of what Nepal was capable of handling. We put together our entire resources, the organization, management capabilities, everything, to address that issue. It was not only food and water supply, it was more importantly getting involved in the revealed initiative of there's more than 700,000 homes and 30,000 schools, which vanished overnight, and with no material inside, construction material, no construction people on ground. That's when we realized, we embarked on probably one of the toughest journey of our life. Made a very tough decision that no, we got to do something. We had no idea of what we are going to do, how we are going to do. But we said, no, we are not going to find an easy way of just signing a check and giving it to the government.
I've been privy to your initiative there.
So
I'm going to bring you back, Dr. Chaudhary, to this other important part of what you have created yourself, right? I want you to tell me very briefly, in fact, tell the audiences very briefly, about the different verticals of CG Corporation Global and your presence in India and the immediate South Asia.
Well, there was, I must say, there was a time when we wanted to do everything in this world. Okay, and we luckily had reached a stage where people were approaching us, as a credible business house with whom you could do business. They were bringing in ideas, they were bringing in joint venture proposals, etc. And our vertical started to grow. I recall there was a time when we were involved in more than 18 different business verticals, okay, ranging from, of course, food and beverages, packed food, branded food, including YY, and which probably the most of the people in the world know, to hospitality, to banking, to insurance, to power, to education, etc. But then we realized that life is becoming far more competitive, the world is becoming far more competitive. You got to have some niche in whatever you do. So you got to consolidate. So today at home in Nepal, we have 9 different business verticals, which are all independently run, and with number of companies within those verticals. But globally, we are focusing on 6. And it seems that probably there is plenty to do within this domain. Of course, our private equity arm is always willing to look at new investment opportunities, and so long it's run well and it's managed by people we trust. But we don't want to re-engineer and rebuild a team from the scratch and get into a new business. As you know, that hospitality continues to be a very important one, and we are probably one of the most diversified business hospitality company, which is not only in terms of geographical presence all the way from New York to China, also in terms of the nature of properties where we are involved, okay, ranging from the safaris to wellness to business hotels to adventure, but also because of the different brands that we carry and some of the most iconic properties with the whole world swears by without any sense of modesty. So I think we've been able to create, which Rahul runs now with over 120 hotels across
141.
141. Okay, count. 141. And also it's very important that we wear all the different hats, which is critical, from that of an operator with our own brand to partner managing hotels with our partner brand under franchise, to letting the partners run the business, but we fund and we are co-investors, to developers, and all round owning and investing, owning, building and operating and creating a brand like the farm in Philippines, which we are very proud of.
I was coming to that. You stole my question. I was coming to that. You're also deeply invested in the hospitality industry, right? Am I right? I'm now going to come back to another part of you, Dr. Chaudhary. You're seen as a builder, be it the family community or for your large corporate empire that you've carved out as Nepal's biggest, or may I say the richest entrepreneur and corporate house. To carry the legacy forward, you have the 3 future signs to take the mantle ahead. In your own words, tell us about each one of them, Nirwan, Rahul, and Varun. Yeah. What value system, what character, capability building blocks did you put into place? Looking back, how successful have you been on this front as a father, mentor, teacher, and a boss?
That's a very. I think actually within one question you've asked many questions. Let me try and.
That is the objective.
Yes, let me try to. You first of all you touched upon farm. I mean, let me share that, and because predominantly your channel, your media house focuses heavily into hotel sector, hospitality.
That's one part of our business.
Yeah, but
business
that's,
world is into about 10, 12 of them.
That's right.
In the hospitality space, we are pretty.
You stand out.
Yeah.
You stand out, and I have deep admiration for how you are promoting the hospitality sector as a whole. So I think I would like to share that, a lot of people believe that post-corona, one of the industry which has been hit the worst is hospitality, which is true. But that has also given us an opportunity to reinvent a new business model, and we've successfully done that at the farm. Since you raised the subject of the farm, farm has today become the most trusted destination where people feel that it is the place to be, which is following all the protocols which are important to protect yourself, to give you the kind of a care, to boost immunity. All our staffs are tested, our medical facility, you know, it's a destination wellness. So we do run our detox program. It transformed, and I think it has opened a completely new set of opportunities in the hospitality sector. We intend to build on it. I think this is what people are looking for now, a safe haven, a place where you can go and live there peacefully. This property, Philippines, is totally shut down.
And your
till date.
favorite, and your favorite.
Of course, it's my favorite. And it's totally shut down. It's running full house, doing remarkable business with all local business, something unthinkable. So I think it's a thought that I like to share with the fellow hoteliers and, you know, the investors community, that I think one need to be little innovative. Anyway, having said that, you know, I see distinctly different but very complementary strengths in all three of them. Okay, distinctly different when I say is like Nirwan. You know, the way I look at it, and it's a bit
That's
awkward.
one on camera.
It's a bit awkward in the sense that you know, not that I would say anything different if they were not around. I've talked about them in the past, but to be talking about them in their presence and in camera is a little different. You know, like Nirwan has a tremendous entrepreneurial spirit. Okay, you leave him in a room where you know, where there is probably nothing happening, and still he will come out with some business idea. Tremendous, and a tremendous networker. Okay, and then the angles that he brings to the business, okay, is something which not many people can think about. Great people's person. He has played a major role in building the team that we have within this CG empire. Has great very sharp eyes to identify talents which may be hidden, you know, which may not be seen on the surface, but to pull them up. I think these are very different qualities. Same way, Rahul is a solid you know, professional, solid entrepreneur, very hard worker, very systematic, very I think organized.
Meticulous.
I think that's the meticulous, very organized. Make sure that everything is followed through till it is totally implemented and it starts to produce the result. A great quality. You know, it's a great quality. And the third one is sitting next to you, who you know extremely well, a perfect person to be based in India. You know, he's as dynamic and as I would say astute and sharp in working in a situation which may be so different and unthinkable. I'm still looking for the right kind of a word that he would, you send him in any kind of a complex situation, he will find a solution. And he will leave a lasting kind of a impression for himself. And of course, when it comes to relationship building, okay, again, he is no less than anybody else. All three are very ambitious, which is very good. Okay, all three want to prove that they are better than. I mean, there is a sportsmanship kind of an attitude,
Competitive spirit.
as well as a positive sense of competition, which
Excellent.
is extremely good. And I think they have tremendous complementary strengths. They work independently, they drive their own domain, their own verticals, but yet cooperate and support each other. I think I must say that our group is in good hands, and we are very blessed. Touch wood, we are in good hands. They are well poised to take this group to newer heights in time to come.
So looking back as a boss and a father, are you happy?
Totally. I couldn't have asked for more.
Oh,
I
there
couldn't
you
have
are.
asked for more.
That's a good report card.
Yeah.
Yeah, coming from a father and a boss.
Yeah.
Tell me, what are the key challenges for CG Global, the travel, tourism and other verticals, and what is the plan to handle them, and very briefly?
I think they have having talked about their strengths, I would say that, that the pace at which the group has grown, coming from a very difficult geographical setup, a country which has always been perpetually in the political transition, a country which is, where we have our shares of problems, shares of problems when it comes to doing big business. We've been able to bring the business to this level. Now the whole world is going to look at them to take it to the next level. And that's a huge challenge, I can tell you, because I think the group has earned the distinction of being the only, billionaire or billion or Forbes recognized company. Okay. Many times people ask me that what is that one single wish that you will never get fulfilled? A lot of people ask me. And my answer to that is, and it is, I've said this before and I feel like saying this today, particularly they're all here, because they're all here, that I would like to be born as my own son. Just imagine if I was, I was Nirwan or Rahul or Varun, you cannot imagine what I would do to this group. So that's the challenge and opportunity they have.
How beautifully put. Tell me, what would you like to say about the future of hospitality globally, and specifically in India, post the pandemic?
As I briefly mentioned about the farm and gave an example, this industry is definitely in for problems, but there is no one single answer, and you cannot generalize. There are properties like, for instance, resorts or destinations where people somehow feel that it's not crowded, away from crowd, more closer to nature, where you feel you can survive on your own with limited access. All these properties are doing well, particularly in India, they're doing extremely well. If you talk of the reason, Maldives is doing very well. Specialized properties which gives the kind of a sense of comfort and sense of security post-pandemic, like the Palm is doing well, but I can't think of many properties like that. Dubai was doing well, perhaps one of the most active, the one destination which came back far too soon and far too open. At this stage, they are undergoing some, again, there has been a relapse. I hope that things get under control. They will settle down. But but one thing is for sure, that people will not travel the way they used to travel before. Okay, A lot of people, there are different opinions from the industry leader that the hotel industry is going to come back by 22, 20, some say 23. If you ask me, the hotel industry is going to be redefined. Destinations are going to be redefined. Okay, it's not about 22 or 23 or 24. What is going to work will start working from now.
So also, Dr. Binod Chaudhary, tell me, I mean, you know, you just spoke about 2021, 22, 23. Seeing all this and the fact that you're deeply invested in this business with your largest portfolio, are you looking to further step up on your investment gas into India?
Oh yes, I mean, we are a true believer in India, but our probably, and I think I must say that even pre-COVID, we always felt that India needs to do a lot more in building world-class resorts. That's an area where maybe because of difficulties in finding the right site, you know, it's not easy in India. I think the hospitality industry, I think, has to face huge amount of red tapeism. It's not easy to build hotel here in India. You know, we've tried to do greenfield projects and given up, frankly speaking. Okay, assuming that if these things are put to a more doable stage, and I think India will do extremely well by opening new destinations, okay, which you can really call as destination. I think there is business to be done, more boutique-y, more experiential, you know, more cultural, and we intend to go on building that portfolio. It has to be.
Let me give it a bit of a twist. So are you looking to go beyond hospitality and look at other sectors as well for your investments?
No, in India, our biggest investment is food. Why?
It is.
I mean, we've got 8 different manufacturing plants. We own a 20% market share for YY. By no means it's
and growing.
And growing, and hopefully soon we'll be able to give the industry some very interesting news.
I hear.
Which will put the whole company,
I was sent a nice little box.
Completely new level. So we remain very gung-ho about the food industry,
Excellent.
FMCG. In fact, that did extremely well during COVID and post-COVID. And our food park in Ajmer is taking shape. It's moving forward.
Any other sectors beyond hospitality and FMCG?
I don't think we have anything concrete on the table. Although we want our bank to come to India, we're already taking the preliminary steps. There are many Indian banks operating in India, in Nepal, but we'd like Nabil to come to India. There is a huge Nepalese diaspora, and there is a huge India-Nepal trade is over 70% of our total portfolio. So I think it will do well for the industry as well as to other partner banks to bring in Nabil, and through Nabil also many other financial services products, including the fintech to digital bank to, you know, the wallet, a lot of areas where we are getting into. So that's one space where we clearly feel that we can contribute and we are interested. Apart from that, we are a very diversified group, and anything that falls within our ambit, if there are interesting deals to be done,
there are opportunities.
We are ready.
Dr. Chaudhary, that's a very interesting part of the interview. We're almost through to over half stage of the interview. I want you to sit through as I talk to these 3 young gentlemen.
Please.
Right? I'm going to come to the eldest one, Nirwan. Right? You're someone who has his fingers in many a pie. If not all the pies, as you handle the Ops Nerve Center in Kathmandu. Right? You're responsible for a number of businesses, telecom, including broadband, finance, the services sector, banking, infrastructure, FMCG, education, energy, and the foundation per se. Please highlight about your plans to grow with your existing and new partners.
Thank you so much for having us on your show.
Pleasure is ours.
We're absolutely delighted to be here with you. Nepal's home. Nepal's where the seeds were sown, and Nepal will always remain a geography, an area where we'll continue to grow organically in some of our core areas as defined by my father. For us, today, our FMCG continues to be one of our core competencies, and we continue to grow in it organically. We are looking at different avenues beyond Nepal to grow inorganically. But within Nepal, I think we are laterally trying to diversify into different portfolios within FMCG products. Apart from noodles, snacks, beverages, brewery, we are trying to get into other FMCG verticals as well. Our new entry has been into the field of communications and IT. I think this is one sector, although pretty matured worldwide, pretty matured at the South Asia level, but I think in Nepal still we are at a level where there's huge opportunity for growth. For example, if you look at in general the data penetration or the smartphone penetration, we're just about touching 70% with a population of 30 million. And access to broadband, access to data, access to IT, e-commerce opportunities to the population still is at its infancy stage. So we see that as a huge opportunity, providing latest technologies, and our groups always believed in the entire sense of providing world-class products at affordable prices, and sticking to those ethos, providing latest digital services at affordable prices, which can read to the masses, which can redefine their businesses, which can create a bottom-up contribution to the economy, like we've seen in India, with entrance from players like Reliance, and to the restructuring of the focus towards the digital landscape by companies like Airtel or Vodafone. We feel there's a huge opportunity over there, and that is why with our new vertical in telecommunications and IT, I think we'll be firstly focusing on more of our creating the ecosystem, the backbone for it. We see huge opportunities in reinventing some of our existing businesses and giving them an angle of an e-commerce platform. For example, consumer durable electronics. We are a market leader and we've been there for a very long time.
You have a private label.
We do, which is in some segments bigger than some of the multinational companies within Nepal. We represent and been partners with LG over 3 decades now. But we've gotten into e-commerce and as well as retail, and e-commerce has started to pick up, especially during COVID times. Education, where we had over 15 schools and colleges within Nepal. We've taken this paradigm shift into getting into aggressive online education model. I think we're in this particular era, and it's primarily, I think this COVID period has accelerated that entire process for us, where we would be able to leverage the entire ecosystem of CG Corp, Chaudhary Group in Nepal, whether it's financial services leading to digital banking, fintech, whether it's FMCG or consumer durables, expanding to e-commerce platforms, using the backbone of IT infrastructure, is one side of how we are looking at looking at the future of some of our verticals of our group. But I also feel Nepal worldwide is known for its capacity in the energy sector, the potential for harnessing the energy that it has. Albeit the demand-supply gap is slowly closing in, but there's still huge cross-border export that can happen. And that's one area where we were trying in the past to aggressively enter, and now I must say that we have been relatively successful in at least almost launching our first project, which is already giving shape to other few projects coming up. So I think FMCG, telecommunications with IT and the entire digital ecosystem with energy infrastructure and the building materials, I would all combine it together.
That's quite a handy portfolio. That brings me to this rather interesting question which I have about Nepal. Right? Nepal is not just synonymous with the Everest, it has so much to give and show the world. Talk to us about Nepal. Tell us more. I mean, very briefly though, but tell us what excites you.
The fact that we were born there, the fact that my father was born there, my grandfather was born there as well. For us it's home. We are morally, we are consciously, we are attached to.
You guys, all of you, as I've seen you over time, you are the proudest and perhaps one of the best ambassadors for your nation, right? For your young, sprightly, happening nation, which has had a lot of setbacks. It's a landlocked country, right, which brings with it a lot of challenges, right?
So I came back to, let me give you my personal experience. So firstly, we are from the core of our heart, we have a strong desire to do something for our country. Rahul and Varun spend a lot of time taking, our group motto has always been taking Nepal to the world. So they really play that role in expanding the group's vision beyond Nepal, and obviously doing things in Nepal as well. But I came into Nepal in the early 2000s when we were at the peak of our insurgency, when I think Nepalese started to travel outside. And I think my father also, a couple of years prior to that, we made our first hospitality investment into Sri Lanka, again at the peak of the LTT war that time, where Sri Lankans were probably wanting to exit out of the market. So Nepal, when I got into Nepal, I was immediately right at the grassroots level. I got the opportunity of getting the experience to be part of various verticals by traveling to the most remotest part of Nepal. I was 21, 22 at that time. And that really gave me an amazing perspective into the potential of what Nepal has. People know about the tourism, Nepal as a tourist destination. People know about Nepal as a spiritual destination or as an adventure trekking destination. But I think the inherent natural resources that we have, not only in terms of the power for energy, but even in terms of the natural resources for some of the most exotic herbal alternative medicine to cosmetic products to anything that the world is today shifting towards. I think Nepal is still yet to harness that. The fact that we are sitting in between the two fastest growing economies in the world, the potential of making that a bridge is what excites us.
That's an opportunity.
The fact that a lot of people see there's nothing happening there. We see that because there's nothing happening there, there's a lot we can do there. And I think because our chairman has put in such a solid foundation over the last 4 decades, we are able to, instead of really working on building systems, we are working on really using that system to bring in our entrepreneurial vision to grow our group beyond Nepal. So I think Nepal I continue to believe in Nepal. I think again, there are a lot of business ideas, lot of business products, services that we get an opportunity to see even in a country like India, and within India we see an area like North India, what has worked, what is accepted, and for us that becomes a testing ground to immediately bring the products and services into Nepal.
That's quite a interesting peep into your portfolio and the way you look at Nepal. You're practically there, right? I'm now going to move to your middle brother, Rahul. Rahul handles quite an interesting and rich portfolio, if I may say so. You just said 141 hotels, right?
Yes.
I'd let you detail them out. But tell me, CG Group has a large global footprint in the hospitality business across 4 continents out of the 5. Not Australia as yet, perhaps soon. And across maybe 10, 11, how many countries?
13 now.
13 now, there you are. So I think you need to step on the gas from 13 to 14 soon. Do tell us some detail about your diverse portfolio and the number of continents, countries, hotels, rooms, brands,
Okay.
and your partnerships.
Sure. Well, first of all, thank you so much for bringing us together. I think
Pleasure.
It's an important forum today where we are, and also an honor for us to be with my father on the platform for the first time. I think it's the 3rd time that you and I have interacted.
Second time with him.
Yes. So just before I talk a little bit on the portfolio and the different spread, let's say all across the world, it's important to also understand where we started. I think it's important to reflect on the fact that we've been in the hospitality industry for 2 decades now. And the most interesting part of that was our first investment in 3 properties in Sri Lanka and Maldives. As my elder brother Nirwan mentioned, that we stepped into Sri Lanka and Maldives during the most difficult times. And why it is important to note that step into hospitality, because we were not in that sector at all before. And it was my father's desire to go outside of Nepal. And that too, being a humble group out of Nepal, partnering with a giant like the Tatas, I think that itself was a big leap and jump for us. And we have in many forums also always given them due respect to say that they were the ones who introduced us to this sector. And difficult times, and if you see our philosophy and our hospitality growth trajectory in the past 2 decades, you will see that we have invested or been in countries at a time that they are going through a difficult crisis, come out of war, or a situation whereby, I mean, let's just say they're going through difficult times. And that's where he saw the vision, saw the opportunity. Until today, if you see the growth that we have done and the investments that we have made, all our investments have been in countries and in opportunities that have a larger opportunity in the long term. And coming to that point, 20 years down the line, now we are 141 hotels in 13 countries with almost 8,500 keys. And as my father mentioned, probably, if not probably one of the most diversified hospitality groups in the region. In every single business model that you can think of, all the way from being an investor, being an operator, being an asset manager, and also in all different segments, right from your budget to your mid-market to your wellness, experience, safari, luxury, and luxury business hotels as well.
And health.
And health, wellness, yes.
Yeah. Rahul, that's a very interesting portfolio that you have, but I want to talk about one particular important part of what you handle. Your successful relationships with some key operators, be they IHCL, Taj, Accor, Marriott, or perhaps any I've missed. How do you take such how do you make such relationships lasting? And what next? Any new partners? Where and when? I hear of a lot of things, but I wouldn't say it on camera.
Sure. No, I think it's very important. You see, I'd like to take a step back and say that developers have become very, very smart and intelligent themselves. You see, when we stepped into the hospitality business, we had no clue, obviously. And we came in as a joint venture partner with IHCL. And we were learning the ropes, and we were at the mercy of the operators, which we are in many of our investments as well. But I think we evolved, and we learned the ropes of being an operator, the art of creating brands, which is not easy. And this helped us also in terms of managing relationships. But I think the most important aspect of maintaining a relationship or going forward with any relationship with an operator or a brand is alignment of interest and alignment of growth strategy. You have to always be aligned in terms of where you want to go, where you want to be. And I think where we are today speaks for itself that, as my father mentioned, that we are in various different business models now with various different brands. All the way from we've been with the Carlson Residor in New York as well, with Hilton, IHCL, with Accor now, and some interesting discussions going on with some other brands as well. And specifically from India perspective, we definitely learned the hard way, I must tell you, as my father mentioned, due to when we first came into India in 2006, from the hospitality perspective, we really went through a difficult time in terms of just getting the projects up and running. I mean, we had created a strategy to develop 20 hotels and started going and buying land parcels. But then we said that I don't think it's something that we can really do because the system was that way. And then we decided to make an investment in a growing management company, as you know, concept. And we are proud to say that we are perhaps the second largest management company in India with almost 84 hotels operating and 34 in the pipeline.
Excellent.
And this year itself, we are going to open almost 13 hotels as we speak.
So tell me, if I was to ask you, where are you going to be in 2022-23 from 141? Give me a number.
I would say 2025.
Tell me.
Our strategy to reach 200 hotels by 2025, and I think we are walking on that journey. As I mentioned, that we are opening almost 15 hotels, at least 10 to 15 hotels through our management arm in India itself concept. And apart from that, we continue to look at interesting opportunities in newer markets, such as Turkey, one of them, and consistently also look at other markets that we are doing. But one of our biggest focus for growth right now is our wellness and experiential space.
So talking about wellness, this question goes to both of you, Binodji and Rahul. Farm at St. Benito is extremely successful. When is it traveling out and where?
Go ahead.
Okay, I'll take that question, but it's interesting. I'd like to say this, that out of our entire hospitality portfolio, the one property that is closest to my father is the farm.
I'm aware.
And he personally gets involved all the way.
Hands-on.
Completely hands-on with even the expansion, and I mean, he loves creating, right?
On.
Absolutely. But I think, as he mentioned, that the wellness model is something that we want to take outside because we've seen.
When?
This
Where?
year. You'll see this year itself.
Really?
We are already evaluating 3 opportunities, I would say, very, very strongly. Mm-hmm. I'll tell you the countries, one in India, one in Sri Lanka.
So I don't have to travel to the Philippines?
Hopefully not. But you see, if you have to get the real taste of the farm itself, you will have to probably make that journey. And something in Europe as well, Europe or the Middle East.
Excellent.
So, I mean, we are working on a target to at least have
now
one
save
more
save that for the next time.
Done.
I want you to break that news. Let us know whenever you do.
Sure.
Quickly, I want to go on to Varun, but I have this question on your newest acquisitions, Fairmont, Nairobi, and Masai Mara, right? My favorite places to be in. Others that we aren't aware of or planned to your portfolio. Tell us about them.
Well,
very briefly.
Sure.
The acquisition, how did it happen? What next? When do you open up?
Sure. And the latest one in our portfolio are the two Fairmont properties in Masai Mara and Nairobi. The first time we all ever went to East Africa, when our parents took us there, I think it was back in 2013. The first property we ever stayed was at the Norfolk.
Oh, really?
Yes, and that was the time when I remember my father was just sitting at the bar and he was just, it was obviously thinking about the history, right, of the property, that it is the property where the queen was, that's the first night that she was queen.
Oh, really?
Yes, so the history is quite immense, and my father just...
I've seen it in The Crown, though, yes.
Yes. Yeah. So he had in his mind that, this is a wonderful property, and it would be wonderful if it could have been a part of our portfolio, from his point of view. And destiny had it so that 2 years back, this property just came by that this is on the offering. And, and I just had to have it, And then I kept working on it. It actually took me 1.5 years to close this deal. Ran through many challenges, but we managed to close it. I don't know if many people say it was a bad time, and many people say it was a good time, because we bought it right on March 15th.
When it has to happen, it has to happen. There's
Absolutely.
no bad time. You were destined to get it.
Absolutely.
Your dad spoke about it, right? And there you are. So that's very. When are you opening it?
We are going to open hopefully on the 1st of May.
Oh, there you are. So you're just about 2 months away.
2 months, 2.5
All right,
months.
excellent. That brings me to the youngest of you three, my fellow Aquarian. By the way, you have your mom, your sister-in-law, and your better half looking at you. So you're being watched, and of course, sir and your brothers. I won't say youth icon, but you're the youth leader, right? You're pretty much happening in India, right? And you're pushing YY, right? Do I say the YY man? Or you're pushing YY in India. You're someone the kids adore, and have taken on the might of Maggie, right? Tell us all you can about YY. How and when did it start? Of course, your brother's also into it, but let me hear it from you.
Sure. So let me first of all thank you for having us here.
Pleasure.
This will go down so beautifully in the memory lane for 3 reasons. Number one is we are sitting right here in Jhunjhunu, which is like calling of the roots. So this is where it all began. Number two is, obviously they've also mentioned, but it's the first time where 4 of us have actually been on the same platform with you. The third thing, which is a telepathy, but our wives also here, and our mother, the way she is listening to us so carefully, I'm sure she is also having that sense of pride that we've probably done something worthwhile. So that takes care of the compliments. Coming to the YY question, certainly the Brahma or the creator of YY sitting right here. So there is no way that I could ever be the face of YY, because YY is something which is so emotionally close to him, probably closer than even the farm.
True.
So his passion, his vision towards probably making CG Corp Global a true multinational actually began from YY. And the trajectory and the path which we are treading is also in that direction. So in a very humble way, you can probably say that I'm making a little presence felt with the youth, because that's the target audience I sort of cater to. And those are the people who have actually been the brand ambassadors ever since. All of us went to boarding school. You can ask Samay, also your son, how much of adoration he himself has for YY. So since
I pick up the rappers every morning, because he's somebody who's nocturnal, so 2 o'clock he gets up and he chews on it.
Exactly. So you can imagine the madness which people probably have for YY. So similarly, I'm sure we should do the same thing when we were in boarding school. So it's a very unique proposition. It's a very unique case study how YY has evolved in India about 35 years back?
Yep.
It's been about 35 years. So
that's long.
That's a long time. Since the time we went to boarding school, for us, YY used to be like a currency for us. To get our stuff around in school, when we used to barter with YY, I'm sure we could get a lot of work done. So keeping all these little memories in mind, we could never ever realize that YY at some point will scale such heights in India and globally.
Touch wood.
Touch wood. Yeah. And this is something where I have recently taken over, where my elder brother Nirwan, I used to look after it. I was in Dubai, that's where I started my career in the real estate business. So we had pretty much finished our projects, and I was looking at relocating to a newer base, and I thought India could be somewhere where I could probably fit in, given obviously, my entire education was in Dehradun, and my friend circle obviously, revolved around India. So I didn't realize that India could so naturally fit into my scheme of things, my probably thought process, and I would be, let's say, part of the YY family here, since there was so much of business which was probably growing in Nepal. It was my father's decision as well that I could probably step into the YY shoes. So that's how my journey began in the world of YY, in India and outside India, where we are present in Bangladesh, Serbia, and Kazakhstan. So these are the units, countries where we have our units, and we're looking
So that's part of my second question. So I mean, the brand, brands are like, they have personalities like human beings, right? Dependable, right? Pure, enjoyable. So I mean, YY has its own strengths. So it's only natural for you to, of course, you've spoken about the countries where you've gone to, which was going to be my next question. Since you've already answered it, tell me, how are you extending the portfolio? I've tasted some of the samples,
right,
but walk your audience through that.
Okay, so let me talk about India, what we are doing. Given the fact that we've focused in probably building YY for so many years, time has come for us to obviously extend the YY brand, which we feel that we've made a strong brand in India. Because when we talk about the noodle industry, which is a high growth industry, it's us and the other two brands, which is Nestle and ITC. It's basically these three brands which have stood the test of time. So time has come for us also to extend the brand into newer territories. So the ones which you're talking about is the entire sauces range, which we've come up with, and it's in the market now. We are adding more variants in that. And apart from that, there are multiple categories which are NPD, which is the new product development, they are working on, which we feel that by the end of this year, you will see multiple categories of the YY brand.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah.
So tell me more about your manufacturing. How many operations do you have?
So we are at the moment in 7 locations with about 11 plants. By the end of this year, we are anticipating to add on further capacities and location as well.
Tell us the locations.
So the next one will probably be West Bengal.
Oh, really?
Yeah, West Bengal. And
very interesting.
We've just added capacities in Bihar. Our next capacity expansion is going to be...
So just list me the manufacturing locations.
So we are in Sikkim, Silchar, Guwahati, then Chittoor, Purnia, Rudrapur, and Rupangarh in Rajasthan.
And which is your biggest?
Northeast, yes.
Yeah? Excellent.
So there we've...
So that's a great investment, and it's a very nice product. And I've seen my kids have it raw.
Right. It's quite unique.
Which is very unique.
Yeah.
So Varun, anything more from your FMC stable in Nepal, Varun and Nirwan, that you may get into India? Maybe beverages or something?
So in India, we are, let's say, working on something interesting, which my father also sort of hinted. So
mentioned.
We are looking at M&A opportunities, and not just M&A, we're looking at a couple of M&A opportunities. So inorganic growth is something which we are certainly looking at to take the whole company to a newer level.
Excellent. So that's a very good interaction that I've had, may I say, with the 4 young men, right? Binodji is driven. He is high on passion, extremely high on energy. though he's like a father to all of us. Don't go by my graying beard, that's premature. Binodji, I'm going to wrap this up. Tell me, when not at work, how do you unwind, given your beautiful family, philanthropy, and your wonderful, wonderful daughter-in-laws and grandchildren? And of course, Mrs. Chaudhary. What about your interests and all, which I'll come to?
Well, life is all about balance. You know, this is something which I realized long ago, luckily. You know, there is nothing called tomorrow. You know, you don't park things thinking that, okay, you know, when I have time, I will do this. I mean, you have to live life. To live life full, complete, you got to allocate your time to yourself, to your family, to the society, to the social circle, your immediate circle, like friends and associates. And if you are a public person, for your public life, and most importantly, to your professional life. There is nothing called a trade-off between one to another. Okay, and when from the other perspective, life needs to be balanced from a spiritual as well as a professional perspective. I think I did, ever since I started walking on the spiritual journey, and I mean, you know, we are blessed to have our Guru, Sri Ravi Shankar ji. Our lives have changed, and I think that particular element of emptiness that existed in the life was so beautifully wrapped up that we don't miss anything. I think
I've personally watched the change, and I've been through Bharatpur and your...
Been to the Sri Sri Center,
yes,
you've seen the Sashwadham.
And the Gurukul.
And the Gurukul.
Yeah.
So I think life is really, you know, it's all up to you. I mean, you can make the life meaningful and fulfilling by taking all these steps, and still you will have plenty of time for you to do what you want to do. It's all about time management.
Excellent. So that brings me to this interesting little thought that I had. You spoke about movies, Mumbai, Bombay, as it was then. Your favorite movie?
I used to be a great fan of Devanand. Think of any Devanand movies and I'll still go, you know, I go back to the memories. I think of late I've been watching a lot of Netflix, like any one of us.
Any favorite movie and a favorite actor from yesteryears and now?
My wife sometimes you know, texts me to watch movie in a theater, which is a great experience. Sadly, because of Corona, that has not happened for about a year. You know, I think I'm trying to think which is the last movie that I saw and truly enjoyed. I think it was one of those
would you want to prompt?
epic. तो छ नि उसको के अरे होइन होइन वो चाहिँ तेरी Padmavat.
Okay. Ah, there you are. That's pretty nice.
That's a movie I thoroughly enjoyed.
Very nice.
Great.
How about Guide?
Guide was a fantastic. It's always.
It's a classic.
Yeah, recently, you're right, absolutely. You know, I had, during the COVID, during the isolation time in COVID, and first time since you mentioned about Shashwadham and our industrial park, the entire family, we were all there for a couple of months, something which we've never done. You know, I used to spend about 20 days a month.
We spoke while you were there.
Traveling, right? I spoke there. Even released my song, which I had recorded in Turkey.
Which is my next question.
Yes. So, you know, I think one of the best things that Corona has done is to bring the family together and make them so close.
Absolutely.
I think this is another thing. This is another dimension of life which was somewhere missing because of too much of travel. I think Corona taught us a very important lesson that you don't have to rush, you don't have to run. You can do it technically, digitally. I'd never used, to be candid, I'd
It's
never
made it
used
possible.
Zoom. I'd never used Zoom before Corona.
Though not very good for Rahul.
Yeah,
He wants people traveling and staying in hotels.
I know, but so I think life is post-Corona, the new life.
I'm pulling you back. Singing. Which singer, which song?
Kishore Kumar used to be my favorite singer.
Which
no
song?
question about it.
Which song would you pick?
All, that there was a phase when for about 20 years, every song of Kishore Kumar was something which I used to remember by heart.
And would you sing?
I used to sing all of them, that you mentioned about Guide, Amar Prem, Aradhna, and you can go
It's
on
endless.
and on. Endless.
So, some extracurricular activities. I know about your golfing.
Yeah, I picked up golf now. I mean, I've been playing off and on, but I'm playing little more serious golf. I picked up trekking,
Oh, very
something
nice.
which I wish I started long ago. Amazing journey. It is probably the most holistic form of mental, physical, spiritual exercise that you can get into.
I
And
couldn't
truly
agree more.
touches your soul.
I couldn't agree more.
Yeah,
I
and
couldn't
I
agree
think
more.
Nepal is blessed with that. So I think there is plenty to be done,
Excellent.
and I'm enjoying every moment of it.
Touch wood. So I'm now going to come to you boys, right? Boys, Doskos, not just siblings, with hardly many years separating you three. All three of you went to the Tony Doon School. It would be good to extract a bit from you Dosko brothers. Who do I start with first? Any of you, it's your call. Are you more friends than brothers? Or more brothers than friends?
Do you want to take that?
Sure, I think it's firstly, I had the opportunity of also finishing my schooling at Harrow,
Yeah.
where Winston Churchill, Jawaharlal Nehru also went. So
Oh, yeah?
going to a school where Rajiv Gandhi went to, Jawaharlal Nehru was a good experience, but obviously consider myself a Dosko as well. I think we have a beautiful relationship with each other where there's a very thin line which exists, which when we play the brotherly, where we wear the brother's hat, where each of us get that that experience or that lesson learning that an elder brother might have or another brother might have, irrespective of the age, and we sort of have that deep trust in each other that a brother would think the best for the another brother.
That augurs so well.
Yeah, that's
augurs
what I
so
think
well.
my father also meant by us being the support for each other. Obviously, because our ages are not too far away, at least especially between Rahul and me, we are a lot like friends. But even with Varun now, I think the way he is evolved and as a human being, he's.
So if I was to
That's my
get
my
you people
personal
to say one-word descriptions, Varun about Rahul and Nirwan, Nirwan about Rahul and Varun, Rahul about Nirwan and Varun. Let's start with
Let's
Nirwan.
start with Varun this time.
Let's start with Varun.
Let's start with Rahul this time.
नहीं bolo yaar.
Okay, I'll start.
हाँ, there you are.
If it's just one word
For Varun
to
and
describe
one for
Varun,
Nirwan.
I would say Varun is very street smart. I think,
Hindi equivalent being
Hindi equivalent to
Jugadu. Okay.
Jugaad in the sense, in a very good way.
Yeah.
I mean,
Positive.
I think my father also touched upon that.
Absolutely.
I mean, he's a person who will be able to find a solution to
And fix
any
it.
problem and fix it. So that's what street
All right.
smart comes from that. And Nirwan, I would say, I always think he's like an artist, because he's really, really creative, and he's very emotional. Also, and creativity comes from business, and also from the point of view of thoughtfulness from every aspect. So I think artist probably defines Nirwan from my perspective.
All right, so there's only one left out of them. That's Rahul. Who's going to say about him?
Okay, so let me go in. While we were in school, Rahul got this award called the Gentleman Sportsman of the Year. So I think he's been a sportsman on field and off field. When I say off field, even with us, he's always had that sportsman spirit, be it in the personal touch which he gives. I mean, I'm the youngest one, so naturally, you know, I'll get the soft side. So he's always been that very composed, you know, full of patience.
I couldn't agree more.
You know, full of patience and giving that tender care to me as a little brother. I don't know his equation with him. I'm sure, you know, it's also in the same equation. So, but this is what I have to say about him. I'm quite surprised when Nirwan said that both of them now of late have become quite close, obviously. But at one point, both of us used to be inseparable.
Still are.
Yeah. So, I mean, a lot of people mistake the two of us,
You know,
in a sense.
It's so nice to have three of you sit and talk so freely about
Yeah.
each other. I shall close with this next one, right? Very briefly. What do you brothers have to say about your relationship, about your mother and father? They're sitting over here. Your mom is there. Your father is there. He's your father. He's your boss. He's your friend. He's your mentor. Tell me.
Okay, if I can take that. You're asking about the relationship that we share with our
Yeah, with
parents?
your father and parent.
You see, we've always, from our perspective with my father, first of all, we've always looked at him as I would say I mean, of course, he's a perfectionist in every way, how he conducts himself personally and professionally. He has always been the person who has been like a disciplinarian, you know, and guiding us whenever we stray away in the right path. And more so, I would say, professionally. And not that it wasn't in the personal sense, but in every way, our journey, in our professional journeys, whenever we stray or whatever. So our relationship with him is balanced, actually, I would say. And it has evolved over a period of time. You know, as you grow up, when you are when you have a father like our father, and you know, you tend to grow in a certain way, and that's where the whole aspect of a boarding school also comes in. Discipline.
True.
I mean, it wasn't easy for my father and my mother to
Live without you all.
to send us at the age of 6,
Yeah.
but they did it because they were thinking that
They were investing in your.
absolutely, and they thought that they probably have to go through this hardship now to see us. I mean, it was very refreshing, obviously touching to hear what our father had to say about us. Also, that he wanted us to, perhaps he saw that this is where he wanted his children to be at some point. And and now coming to my mother. Now my mother is the balancing aspect from a more emotional and family unity perspective. I for one, I would say that have a personal, emotional relationship with my mother because of my, you know, I have asthma, you know, so I really had moments in my youth that was with my mother, and a lot of hardships that I went with my mother. So that's the kind of relationship that I share, and I'm sure my brothers share the same with my mother too, which is I think evolved over a period of time, which is a good thing. And I think that relationship now has evolved to the extent that I feel that that my father, I can interact with him like a friend, you know, something that would not be there. But this is how your relationships evolve.
So, do you want to say something?
I
You're done?
think I didn't get a chance to answer your previous question about my brothers, and then I'll probably just quickly touch upon. I think Rahul is emotionally and as a human being, he's a solid guy. I would like to say in terms of solid, like even like he's correctly to a large extent said I'm very emotional. It was Rahul who always stood with that solid emotions, in the most difficult times. It was Rahul who always had that perseverance and that he could, that patience, I would like to say as well, that brought out the disciplinary gentleman in like him. It became a huge support and till date continues to be. Varun, I think he's a lot of times misunderstood, but again, what I would like to say is he's someone who's so pure from his heart. So pure from his
I agree.
intent.
Most Aquarians are. Your mother would.
So that's what I would like to say about both my brothers. I think my father, there could be no one who could be a greater well-wisher, a critic in a positive way, and an individual not only to us as sons, but to most people in our organization who he has the ability of bringing out the best in them. I mean, his methods might be his own, but at the end of the day, everyone who has any short-term, mid-term, long-term association with him walks out of that becoming a much more better person, leader, manager, etc. So I think that gave us a massive, it's like they say life is like a grinding stone. It either wears you down or polishes you up depending on what you are made up of.
And your mom?
And that's what he's really molded us becoming. My mother is someone who, to me at least.
Look at her.
She is constantly pushing the boundary for us, Sometimes you feel that, wow, I'm going to, tell my mom I did this, or my mom would have heard this. And I'm sure, knowing my mother, how she is, should be so, in good things, be proud of us. But looking at her, she'll say, no, you can do better. No, be careful of this. No. She's always making us aware of some of the blind spots we might have in our life, some of the pitfalls we might go through. She's always going through an experience and telling us things which we would never think about. Things probably might not happen, but the fact she's already thinking and preempting that and preparing us for it, I think that's very special.
Excellent.
Let's talk about my father first. One of the questions you asked him was, who are the people who's influenced him in terms of shaping maybe the group or let's say influencing his ideas? He took the name of the Tata Group, JRD Tata, then he talked about Mohammed Yunus, Bill Gates. But for us, there has only been one. Like there is no substitution, be it personally, be it professionally. And second thing which, this is not the first time he said, but he said it in multiple sessions, offline, online, that he wished that he could be born as his own son. So you can imagine that we are born as a son. And someone like him to probably hold our hand even till now and guide us, which probably will be a never-ending process. So having this sort of intimate and such a closely knit and watched format, I don't think so a lot of people are lucky enough. So I feel we all are blessed, and we must have done something good that we've been able to probably be his kids under his wings. As far as my mother goes, we were sent to boarding school at the age of 6. So the sacrifice I think she's made is also, which is unquantifiable. On the hindsight, they think that it was the wrong decision of sending us to the boarding school at such a young age, but in our perspective, I think it was the best decision. It's probably...
So the investment's paying off.
Looks like.
So as we thank you, Varun. It's time to wrap up. Thank you for having us over. Thank you for your time, for your courtesy. You're a most gracious host, not the first time for me. I couldn't have asked for a better setting. Like I said when we started the show, where you started, Jhunjhunu, Shekhawati, right? We're in Alcesar today sitting together. We're at about what? It's going to be 11 in the night. What a wonderful session. I'm delighted to have been able to spend time talking to you gentlemen, right? Your father who's legendary, and your mom who's watching, your wives, yeah. And they've been patient enough to go through this. I hope you've enjoyed it as much as I have. It's been a pleasure having you on the show, right? Thank you for being here, Binodji.
Thank you.
Nirwan, Rahul.
And then
Varun.
before you wrap up, let me take the liberty of really sharing my honest opinion about today's session. Something which is God sent. You know under what circumstances we decided to move it here, and thank you so much for
It's always a pleasure.
accepting our request to come here and be with us. But more importantly, I think this has been one of the most remarkable and emotionally fulfilling session together that I've ever been to. I don't know whether this will happen again, but this will always be treasured by the family, by the company, by the group for generations to come. I can tell you that.
Oh, absolutely.
And you are the architect of it.
Oh, I'm
So I want
hardly,
to
there's
thank
somebody
you.
else who's the architect. He just gets us to do it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank
Thank you for having
Thank
me.
you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.